Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is BGFH, and I am back for another video. This again is going to be something a little bit different. Actually, this video is from a suggestion by a user or a viewer that I got on one of my latest videos. I think it was on the blindness community video that I did about a week ago. And one of the suggestions was the person had asked, hey, I'm a new iOS user and would like to see kind of a video on some apps that you might find helpful as a blind or low vision user for independence. And, I'm like, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. That's actually a pretty good suggestion because I do have quite a few new subscribers. I've been getting them pretty regularly, actually, which is neat to see. And the iOS videos seem to get pretty good traffic. People seem to like them. So, and if you're new to the channel or new to iOS, both or whatever, I could do a little bit of, I could do a quick overview video for you. Keep in mind that I'm not going to be able to go into all of the apps in detail. I have done some of that already, and I'll mention some of the, as we come across them, I'll mention apps in particular that I've already done full iOS accessible app spotlight videos for. So there's a whole playlist of accessible games, accessible apps, low vision spotlights for iOS, all those kinds of things. So feel free to go to the channel and check those out. If you want to just find, narrow your search, you could go and check out those playlists. So before we go any further, everyone's list of apps that they're going to use or recommend is going to be a little bit different, but I'll kind of give you
food folder
both an idea of what I use and what I might recommend. There are some apps that I have on here because of my job, where I work with a lot of blind and visually impaired people as well. So while I might not use all of the apps myself, I do play with them a little bit, and I'm able to show them to people, and I do recommend them, especially for things like some apps that are, more for totally blind users. Like I can read paper money, so I don't necessarily need to use the Money Reader app, but it's a highly, highly recommended app that we recommend a lot for totally blind users because it works really well. So, and again, before I continue, also, I will mention, go to Appleviz, applevis.com, appleviz.com. If you're unfamiliar, it is a site for blind and low vision iOS and Mac users. They have a whole app directory, a Mac app directory, an iOS app directory, and people can add, apps to the directory of, apps that they've tested. And rank how accessible they are to voiceover, that kind of a thing. So there's a whole thing there. There's a community that asks questions, or forums for questions. There's app recommendations. There's kind of all kind of stuff Mac and iOS. There's podcasts and everything. So if you are a new iOS user, that would also be a pretty good place to start. I know there's been a lot of tutorials, audio podcasts and things that they've done. And I wish I could remember the name. Oh, man. I see him on my YouTube feed fairly regularly. There's another. Maybe if I remember, I'll try to remember to put the in the description below. I will try to remember to put the name of that channel in there. They have a lot of just little, shorter videos on how to do specific tasks. Anything from using the calendar to general swipe gestures to using a few key apps, I I can't remember the name of the channel now. Anyway, so for iOS, kind of for a lot of people, the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch has kind of become a good independence tool. For me, even as a low vision user, I still use this thing constantly. And yeah, it's largely due to VoiceOver. It's largely due to some of the apps that are built in. But there are a lot of apps that I use, both for, that are designed specifically for blind and visually impaired users, and some that aren't. I mean, what you have to remember too is something for your independence. It doesn't just have to be something designed for, the blind or visually impaired community. It could be something that's just out there that everyone uses, that becomes really, really helpful. For example, online banking. Being able to really quickly check my balance and make payments or do whatever, yeah, makes it really convenient, really easy, makes me able to independently manage my finances, that kind of a thing. So I'm going to go through a couple of folders. I have so many apps on my phone right now, it's ridiculous. Some are for testing, some are for things I've heard about, just haven't got around to playing or trying yet. But on my second home screen, I've got pretty much things at least fairly under control. So I'll open up my blindness folder. I have things divided into folders. And I have...
Blindness folder, 11 apps.
So I got a blindness folder here. Let's open that up.
Opening blindness folder, blindness, heading, text field. Double tap and hold to start edit mode.
All right. So, first thing I have in my blindness folder...
Knfb Reader. Double tap to open.
Knfb Reader. Again, I'm not going to go into detail on this one. I've done a whole separate video on it. Go and check that out. But basically, Knfb Reader is an app that will, if you've used a scanning program for the computer, Kurzweil 1000, OpenBook, DocuScan, whatever, you can snap a picture of a piece of paper or something with print, as long as it's not handwriting, and snap a picture of it, and within about 3 seconds, it is reading it aloud. It is probably the most expensive app that I have. It is $99, but it is actually worth every penny if you use it on a fairly regular basis. And even as a low vision user, I find myself using it more than I thought I would, just because it does such a dang good job.
Text grabber. Double tap to open.
Now, text grabber. If you don't have the $99 right away, text grabber is a nice little alternative, and I'm pretty sure either I've done a video on it, or if I didn't do a video, it's because I know some of the camera apps, when I try to use recording software, some of them don't get along, so I'm not really able to do direct feed video of some of these apps because they just crash. And yeah, anyway, so text grabber is about $4 or $5, I think it is, and it does essentially the same thing. Like I said, for a very cheap product, it does really well. It's a lot more simplified. As far as it doesn't have near the features. I don't think it does quite as good of a job. And the other benefit you get with Knfb Reader is you can also import things from PDF files or JPEGs or other image stuff, and you can virtually recognize those just like you can with Kurzweil 1000 on the computer or OpenBook or DocuScan, whatever. Text grabber, that used to be my key recommendation for
text grabber
OCR before Knfb Reader came out. But if you have the means, I would highly recommend Knfb Reader. If you don't, it's, text grabber is still, it's not a bad entry-level OCR product.
Money Reader.
Looktel Money Reader. This one I know crashed when I tried to use the camera, because I did try to do a video on this. It's just as simple as it sounds. You open the app, you grant it permission for your camera, you hold a paper dollar bill in front of it, of any denomination. It could be the front, the back, it could be sideways, whatever. But usually within a second or so, it will recognize U.S. And I think it does other currencies too. But at least it does paper currency. You don't need it for coins because they're more tactile. But if you're in the U.S., it'll recognize all of your currency perfectly fine within just a second or so.
VO tutorial. Double tap
VO
to open.
tutorial. And do I have the other one in here?
Digitize. VO tutorial.
If I do, it might be...
Voice cam.
No.
VO tutorial.
Okay, VO tutorial. There are actually two of them. There's VO tutorial and VO starter. These are apps that kind of give you an interactive introduction if you want something in addition to voiceovers. What do they call it? They're kind of voiceover tutorial. There's an option under accessibility. If you want something more interactive and explanatory, these are two ones that you can get. They're both free. Looktel voiceover tutorial, and then VO starter. Those are apps that'll kind of walk you through like just the different gestures and explain what you're doing and stuff like that. And I've done a series of, I think there were like 4 to 6 videos just kind of getting started with iOS, kind of like an introduction. So I've done a little bit of that in the past.
Digitize. Double tap to open.
Digitize is another cool app that uses your camera, and it will scan barcodes. So you get a can of soup, you have a CD, you have a frozen dinner or whatever. You find the barcode, which is usually on a square object. It's usually in a corner somewhere. But it'll scan the barcode and tell you what it is. And some of these will give you, especially kitchen stuff. A lot of them, when it tells you what the item is, it will give you a more information button, and then you can get it'll have like nutrition information, cooking instructions, those types of things in the back. For food, I think like I've seen for CDs, it'll give you like the track list of the CD, that kind of thing.
iBlink radio.
iBlink
Double
radio.
tap to open.
This is just a it's from Ceratech, and they have all kinds of blindness resources, podcasts, and different things. And if you do have a Samnet subscription, you can access all of your content there, like your, My Newspaper or podcast feeds or described movies or anything that you have in there if you are a subscriber to that service.
Voice cam. Double tap to open.
Voice cam, I don't even remember what that is. I think that's something... I have no idea what that is, to be honest with you.
Impaired. Double tap to open.
This, I wouldn't worry about this one just yet. It was something that I got to try. I got a code for. It's a neat thing and a neat idea. It's like if you were low vision, and it's kind of has a live recognition mode where it tries to recognize either like what an object is, or if you hold it, let's say, in front of like a sign or something. If text is framed in your camera, when you pause for a second, it'll try and figure it out, and instead of having to take a picture, and then wait, it'll try to do it sort of more of a live sort of thing, where, like I said, if I look at like a street sign or something on the wall that you wouldn't use it for documents, but you might use it for shorter things, like I said, a sign or a marquee or something. And I've had mixed luck with it. I learned about it last year when I went to CSUN. So I would...
Voice. Double tap to open.
Voice? I'm not
Page
exactly
202.
sure what that is.
DQU. A Polyvision. Double tap to open.
So AI Polyvision, AI Poly, or AI Polyvision. This is an app that just came out a month ago, maybe. Um, and it is like an object recognition app where you point it at something, you take a picture, and it's supposed to tell you what it is. But I've had some really weird luck with it. It needs. I love the idea, but it really needs work. um, I can take a picture of the same thing like 3 times, and it'll get one time it'll get it right. One time it'll tell me something completely bizarre, and then the other time it'll be like, I don't know what's going on. So that's maybe one to keep an eye on. A couple that I don't actually surprisingly have on here, I probably have on my work phone though,
Page 1 of 2. Blind.
is you have things like Tap Tap See and Be My Eyes. Now these are also a lot, again, for being, for blind and low vision people, you have a lot of apps that actually use the camera. Be My Eyes and Tap Tap See are both, again, they're more object recognition or like descriptions of things. So basically with Be My Eyes, you can connect to somebody sighted and point your camera, at something live, and they will watch it on their screen, and then you can talk to them and, say like, you can ask them questions about like, hey, what is this? Or, maybe I'm pointed at a computer screen if your screen reader dies or something, what is it doing? Or, any number of questions. Tap Tap See is another similar sort of service where you take a picture of something and then you ask a question and then it gets submitted. It'll either try to do it electronically on its own, but if it can't figure out, then it'll go to crowdsourcing and it'll say, like you can ask it a question. Again, you point it at your computer screen. What is happening on this computer screen? Or maybe you take a picture of a shirt and you say, what color is this shirt? Those types of things. So I would say, reviewing the blindness folder really quickly, Knfb Reader is an excellent OCR package.
Text Grabber.
Text Grabber, if you cannot afford it right now, Text Grabber is, I would say, of the cheaper programs, cheaper apps, one of my favorites, and I use it for the longest time until Knfb Reader. You have your voiceover VO tutorial and your VO starter. You have your Tap Tap See, Be My Eyes, and then you have Look Tell Money Reader. There is one called iNote, EYENOTE. It's by the Federal Bureau of something or other, and I've tried it. It works, it's okay, it's free, but if you have the means, just definitely get the voiceover, get the Look Tell Money Reader. It just works so much better, I think. Much more like accurate and faster and everything. And Digitize. Again, Digitize if you want your kind of barcode and then some of your, like I said, your cooking instructions. You want to get information from back of a box or something. Those are really key things. So you think about independence. I get some handout in class or in a meeting, or I get my mail or whatever. I can have something read aloud. I can identify things in my cupboard. If I have 3 cans of soup, which one's which, without opening them and getting a horrible, totally the wrong one I wanted. You got your Digitize. Learn how to use your voiceover with the 2 voiceover apps I was talking about. You can identify money independently, so you can sort it. You don't have to ask somebody
Closing blindness folder.
then,
Blindness.
have them help you so you can sort your own money. So those are some of the things under the blindness folder. Now, if you are low vision, I've done a couple of videos on
Low vision folder.
some of these
12
apps.
Opening low vision folder. Low vision. Heading.
There are several. There are several different apps that I've tried as far as like CCTV apps or video magnifier apps. And over 40 plus is still one of my favorite. Over 40 plus, it doesn't do some of the extra things like, color modes or anything like that. but the clarity is good. The performance is really good. It doesn't chop. The image doesn't chop up. It's just a really nice magnifier, over 40 plus. If you have an iPad, over 40 HD is the one you want. And if you're doing over 40, get the over 40 plus, because don't get the just plain old over 40, because then you have to deal with an ad banner that gets in your way. And for $4, it's absolutely worth the price.
Magnificent.
Magnificent is a decent alternative. It is free. It does have some of the color modes, but a couple of them look a little bit washed out. Like, you know, the black, if you have a black background, it looks a lot more kind of a grayish thing. I have done, like I said, 2 different videos. I don't even remember what they were called, like Magnifier CCTV apps, and then like Magnifier apps revisited or something like that. Because I did one when I had like my iPhone 5, and then when I got my 6 Plus with the faster processor and everything. They look a lot better. They perform a lot better on the 6 Plus, especially certain apps.
iCam. Double tap to
iCam
open.
is also, I think it's either free or $1 or $2. It's decent. Again, it's a matter of opinion. I mean, magnifier apps are generally so cheap. Even if you buy 5 of them, you spend $10-15. Big deal, you know? I mean, you buy one handheld CCTV, $400 to $800 or more. So, you know, play around with them, see what you like. Get some free ones. Get over 40 plus or over 40 HD. Now, Vision Assist
Double
is
tap to
another
open.
one that I'll recommend if you have a modern phone. I would say you wouldn't want anything older than an iPhone 6 or a 6 Plus. And then you can go the 6S or the 6S Plus. The reason is because if you're looking at if you need an app where it has the other alternate color modes, like your white on black or yellow on black or whatever, the image is super crisp and it just looks really good. But you do need to have a good phone to do it. Otherwise, the image tends to get choppy. On the older phones, like when I ran it on my 5, it could do color fine, but it didn't do the other ones that well. And then those are the main ones, and then I have a whole bunch of other ones here that I'm kind of just monitoring in the background. Like if they get updates, I'll go back and check them a little bit. But those, I would say,
Over 40
over
plus.
40 plus.
Double Vision Assist.
Vision Assist.
Double tap to open. Magnificent. Double tap to open.
Magnificent, and iCam.
iCam.
Are all pretty decent magnifier CCTV solutions. Now, one of my clients the other day actually
H202. Low
gave
vision.
me a
Heading. Text field.
suggestion.
Better vision. Double
It's
tap to
called
open.
Better Vision. I think it was like $2 or something like that. He had actually shown it to me because it was one that he had found, and it's not actually too bad. It does combine a. Let me go into it here.
Better vision.
I really hope this
Double
doesn't
tap to open.
crash with my camera here.
Better vision. Magnifier. Button.
So, it's kind of a cool idea.
Magnifier.
I
Button.
can do a magnifier. There's my CCTV.
Reading light. Button.
Reading light, if I just want to basically turn the flash on, although I don't really understand why you wouldn't just use your control center and do it that way, but whatever.
Read out loud. Button.
Read out loud. That's sort of an OCR setting, sort of like, or OCR feature, sort of like Knfb Reader or text grabber, but I would not recommend it because it's much, much slower and clunkier. I think it actually has to, when it takes a picture, it sends it up on the internet to their cloud, and then it processes it, and then it's very basic. If you want something to read aloud to you and you can't afford Knfb Reader, go get Text Grabber, because I would not really recommend this app for the OCR. But the CCTV actually isn't terrible.
Color contrast. Button.
Color contrast, again, this is
Color
It says
contrast
color
button.
contrast, but it's actually settings. Like if I go in here,
Back button.
it gives you these nice giant icons.
Choose the language you prefer button.
Choose language.
Choose the contrast filter you like button.
Choose the contrast filter. So if I want, when I switch it from color, do I want white on black, yellow on black, or other colors?
More information button.
And then your information, kind of your about, your help thing, and then your giant back arrow in the
Back
upper left.
button.
So it's another one that's actually not bad.
Home.
It's called
Better Vision.
Better Vision.
Double tap to open.
So that's another one that you could potentially check out as well.
Better Vision. Closing Better Vision.
So there's my low vision folder.
Closing low
so
vision
again,
folder.
if you're low vision like myself, you have a lot of different options for like reading and identifying things. For money, for paper text. If I need to magnify something, I might do it that way. If it's a short item, if it's a longer document, I use Knfb Reader to breeze through it more quickly. And then I have a whole folder.
Books folder.
For
11
books.
apps. Opening books folder. Books. Heading. Text field.
Now here, if you like to read, trust me, there are tons and tons of ways to read. I have done videos on most of these apps. First one,
Voice Dream. Double tap to open.
if you get any reading app, get Voice Dream Reader. It's fantastic. It reads Bookshare books, it reads Word documents, it plays audio files. You can dump stuff in from like a web browser, the clipboard, just all kinds of places. And I'm not going to open it in this video because A, I've done a prior video exclusively on that app, and B, I might do a revisited video for Voice Dream Reader because I am currently testing out a beta for a major update for that app, but I'm assuming I'm under kind of NDA on that. So I'm not going to show you any of the sneak peek stuff at the moment. Let me just tell you that Voice Dream Reader, if you want to read like Daisy books from Bookshare visually or documents visually, or if you want to have them read aloud to you, it's just a fantastic app. There's a lot of different voices you can get. Male and female and different language voices. It's just really, really good. I use this app almost on a daily basis. It's fantastic. Definitely support that app. I think it's $10, $10 for Voice Dream Reader, and the developer Winston Chen, he's great. I've written to him a few times for feedback and everything. He's always making updates, and every time I think that the app can't be improved anymore, somehow he comes out with an update and go, that is a really good feature. That is, cool. It got better.
Bard Mobile.
Bard Mobile. This is, of course, if
Bard
you're
Mobile.
in the U.S., you
Bard Mobile.
have...
System alert. System message.
Oh, what's this?
System message. Hello everyone. Bard will be taken offline for 30 minutes beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, March 1st, 2016.
Oh.
This is nothing more than a maintenance issue.
Okay.
Bard should be back online by 9:30. Okay.
Fair enough.
Button.
Probably won't
Okay.
affect me.
Minnesota Mayhem.
Fair enough. Oh yeah, that book. That was a weird book. So if you have one of the hardware digital talking book players with the cartridges, this screen should look very familiar to you because it looks just like that player. You have the big green play button, all the controls around it. I can hit play.
Play. Button.
Barred the door to her home and defied the police with stand to open it. The two men tried to force their way in, and an angry group of women gathered to give aid to Mrs.
Stop.
Niven. Finally, the door was opened and worse
So
began
I'll
to come.
pause it again.
Stop.
So again, I've sped up the audio there, but I mean, this is just you can go download your digital talking books. If you get those cartridges, instead of getting the cartridges or in addition to it, you can just go download the books yourself right from the website, right within the app.
Home.
Let me close some of these
Bard
apps
Mobile.
just
Closing
to keep
Bard
things
Home.
clean here.
Kindle.
Kindle.
Double tap to open.
Kindle books are, of course, also accessible.
Kindle. Menu. Button.
So
Steelheart. Reckoner's Book 1. The Martian Chronicles. Bradbury. Ray.
I have
Hardcore Game
so
101
many
Digest.
books in here.
Billy Lynn's Long Half-Time. Hardcore Game 101 Digest. Volume. Second Quest.
Trying
The
to
Untold History of Japanese Game Developers.
think
Rows
if
7 to 15 of
yeah.
125.
Well, there's a whole bunch of books in here, but basically, Kindle books are accessible through the use of VoiceOver. You just use your, go into a book
Home.
and, do your two-finger swipe down, and boom, you are reading a Kindle book. I do try to get things
Apps.
on
Kindle.
Bookshare,
Closing Kindle. Home.
or I do use Audible as
Kindle.
well. I've been reading books mainly a lot through there or through Bard, but I do read a lot of Kindle books, a fair number of those as well, because there are some books that just aren't available because it takes longer for some of the disability services, book services to get some of the materials. And there's just some stuff that is more, I read a lot of tech ebooks, a lot of gaming related books. There's like these humble bundles where you get book bundles, and there's been some pretty good deals in there on like tech and gaming and kinds of nerdy stuff that I read there. So there's a lot of stuff that I can do with Kindle. The main thing that I'll say about Kindle is Kindle textbooks still have a problem. Go back and watch. There's an accessible textbook video that I did. I did do a video on the Kindle app already, and I also did a video on accessible textbooks. If you're interested in that topic, go check that video out, because I demonstrate a really cool book through Ibooks that is a science textbook that really should be like almost like a definitive standard as far as like how an accessible textbook could and should be done. And then I rant a little bit about, why some of these other textbooks are not accessible, and Kindle textbooks a lot of times being some of them. It's not necessarily Amazon's fault. It's publishers. They block the text-to-speech in their books for some idiotic reason. But I won't go there, because otherwise this video will go on forever if I rant on that topic. So we have, like I said, we have VoiceStream Reader,
Bard Mobile, Double tap to open, Kindle,
and Kindle. For those unfamiliar with Bookshare, I kind of glazed over that. Well, Bard is a free service if you're at least in the U.S. and you qualify through the National Library Service. So that service, both the cartridges and the app and the the downloadable books are free. Bookshare, if you are a student, it is free. High school or college student, if you are not, it is $50 per year with a $25 activation fee, which, again, $50 per year. Even if I was a student, I have paid it before just because I want to support them. And $50 a year for basically unlimited books. If in that time frame you can download as many books as you could possibly want to read. So, yeah, I mean, I know I've heard some people complain, why isn't it free? Why isn't it free? Well, again, I just did that video about whiny blind people. I don't understand the complaining behind that, because Bookshare is such a great service and it's a steal. Yeah, you go ahead and go buy all of your, if you want a human narrated book, go buy Audible books for $20-$30 a pop. Then we'll complain. Anywho,
Audible,
again, that's a service. For its mainstream audiobooks, anyone can sign up for this service. I do use it, but I don't use it on my phone very often, because I love to speed up books significantly, and when you do that in the Audible app, it sounds like complete garbage, because it's super compressed and it just sounds really tinny and like this weird like metallic sound to it that I really dislike. But you can listen to audiobooks, and if you don't speed it up, it sounds fine. So if you don't care, go for it. Audible is accessible.
Ibooks,
That's Apple's bookstore, of course, kind of equivalent to Kindle. So if you can't find a book there, you can also use Ibooks. Nook,
Double tap to open.
I've only used that once or twice, but that was, I think, accessible a little bit before Kindle was.
Goodreads, double tap to open.
Goodreads is a service where if you want to keep track of what you've read, I've been doing that for like the past year and a half or so. You can and then you can have friends, and you can kind of share the books that you've read with your friends, and the last couple of years they've had this reading challenge where you set a challenge of this is how many books I'm going to read over the year, and then when you add them, it adds it to your tally, and then you try to meet or exceed your goal. Last year I aimed for 100. This year I'm aiming for 125 books. I know I'm crazy, but I read a lot. But there you go.
Tell me when. Double tap
Tell
to
me
open.
when. That's a cool app that I need to play with a little bit more. You can basically put alerts for like authors that you like, and it'll tell you when a new book in a series or from that author is coming out.
NFB Newsline.
NFB Newsline. Do I have my
NFB
account set
Newsline.
up here?
NFB alert. Allow NFB Newsline to access your location while you use the app. Allow
Sure,
button.
why not? I don't
Allow.
care.
NFB Newsline
for
would
God's
like to send
sake.
you notifications. Okay. Don't allow.
No,
button.
I don't want you notified.
Don't allow.
I don't want
NFB
notifications.
Newsline. NFB Newsline mobile. Heading.
So,
You are near 1260. Welcome, Jesse Anderson.
okay.
Subscriptions button. Subscription list. Home. Back button.
So NFB Newsline has traditionally been available through the telephone, but in the last few years, if you have an account, you can again use their app, and instead of having to dial up on a phone, you can just queue up a list of your subscriptions that they have there. So, like, I have
Associated Press Minnesota 02/28/2016 edition 5th Associated Press Associated Press North Dakota 02/29 Cap M heading Associated Press North Cap M head Minneapolis Star Tribune 02/Rose 9 to 9 Minneapolis Star Tribune PC World 09/01/2014
World.
Popular Science 10/Rolling Stone
So it's a lot of, like I said, I don't read these very often. Actually, I forget about this app quite a bit because I'm so busy reading and doing other things. But if you're a big into news and stuff, you want to keep up on your local paper or national news or some kind of magazines or periodicals and stuff like that, NFB Newsline, it is available on the phone. And, like I said, a lot of people,
NFB
they want to
Newsline.
read, one of their things is, especially if they, are used to reading the newspaper and they can't anymore, that's a great
Closing
way
books folder.
to do that and be able to keep up on, the current events and news and stuff. So there's just a few reading apps. So again, that's a huge, independence thing. People who like to read, keep up on current events, or like I said, just read maybe for fiction or nonfiction. People think when they go blind or lose their vision, they lose out on being able to read anything. And especially right now, that couldn't be further from the truth. There are so many apps and services and ways to read. I have more on my device alone right now. I have the ability to read more books than I could ever possibly imagine I could read in a lifetime. So we've never had it so good. So there's reading if you like to read.
Productivity folder. 19
Productivity,
apps, 2
I'm
items.
not going to go into
Double tap to
hugely
open.
into this, but suffice it to say, if you have a Bluetooth keyboard or a Braille display, you can use like Apple's own Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, or Microsoft's Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You can write notes, you can do all that kind of stuff, and they actually work pretty dang well. When I went to CSUN last year, I tried the experiment of I brought my keyboard and my phone, both my personal and my work phone, and I said, can I get by without taking a computer just to save space and not have to carry so much crap? And I use it for independence. I was able to do all my travel arrangements, had some menus downloaded for the different hotel or restaurants around the area, had my hotel information. I took notes on all the different sessions so I could report back to my coworkers at work. I was able to do pretty much everything that I needed, and I never really struggled with doing much of anything. So independence-wise, it was really pretty good.
Movies folder. 10 apps.
Again, movies, independence. What I will say about YouTube, people think movies are, videos or movies folder.
Movies
if I go
folder.
in here,
Opening movies
have
folder.
things like
YouTube. Amazon Video.
Double
Netflix.
Netflix.
Double tap HBO Go.
So I
Double
have all kinds of stuff in here. And I've done videos specifically on most of these apps at some point in the past. What I will say as far as independence, because that's what this person had asked about in the comments, YouTube, believe it or not, can actually be a very useful independence aid. If there's something that I'm not quite sure how to do on a computer, I've looked up videos on how to do it. If I'm trying to figure out how to put something together, I think there was a device where I was trying to figure out how in the hell does this thing come apart, or how do I put it together? And I watched someone do it and go, oh, that's where that little latch is that I didn't see or something. Or I'll watch some kind of video review about the product. If I want to find out more information, about a product than what's just written, a lot of times I find video, maybe not necessarily unboxings, but video reviews of different things helpful, because I do a lot of that with tech. But even if you're looking at, like a how-to video, not just for tech, but for anything, how do I don't know, something around the house, how do you do some task? YouTube can actually be very handy for that, because there's a lot of content out there on pretty much any topic you can imagine. So don't just think of YouTube as like an entertainment thing. It can actually be very helpful as a independence
Closing movies folder. Movies folder.
aid. You don't have someone cited around you if you want to try to figure something out yourself. It's proven to be quite useful for me, actually.
Music folder. 8 apps.
Music, there's nothing really there. I mean, all that stuff is pretty fun. There's nothing really independence-wise. I mean, yes, you can listen to all kinds of music. I'm currently fixated on Google Music right now, but, there's a lot in there. People know about Pandora or Apple Music, or I'm a big fan of Amazon, Google Music, and I use a little bit of Pandora here and there. So those are my 3 that I stick to.
Shopping folder. 10 apps.
Shopping folder, again, this is something where...
Opening shopping folder. Amazon. Recently updated.
Amazon, if you shop on Amazon, and if you are a blind person or a visually impaired person, Amazon Prime is one of the best things that you could do, because Amazon Prime gives you so much stuff. Like, you can get, basically, you shop on Amazon either through their app or through their website, all of which I've done countless number of times, and they're accessible. But Amazon Prime, it's like $100 a year now, and which sounds expensive, but it really isn't if you use the service a lot. So think about it, if you're blind or visually impaired, and you don't have someone to regularly go to the store with and help you out all the time, but you want to just do things, or maybe you just want to do things independently. So if you think about going to the store for things that you just know what you need, you don't have to actually go look at it. If you're going to a regular store, you have to get a ride there. How do I get home? When I get to the store, where the heck is it on the, what shelf is it on amongst the 100,000 other items that are there? So then I'd have to go find help to try to find the item. And like I said, then I got to figure out how to get it home. Maybe I have to go to a specific store and take a bus that takes forever to get there and back, so it's not really convenient, or it just takes forever and I don't want to do it. So Amazon, you get Amazon Prime for a lot of different items. You get free 2-day shipping. It's delivered just right to your door. And it doesn't matter the weight or what it is, as long as it qualifies. I've ordered like a vacuum cleaner. I've ordered an countertop ice maker. I've ordered, I don't know, a couple other pretty heavy things. And as long as it qualified, doesn't matter. 2-day shipping, baby. It's really, really handy. Then on top of that, just as a bonus, you get their kind of Netflix kind of like video. You get their music service. You get, if you're a gamer, you get deals on new and upcoming games now. You get a free Kindle book every month if you sign up for their Kindle First service if you're an Amazon Prime member. I mean, it's a ludicrous amount of things that you get for that $99. So it's actually, especially again, as a low vision person, I love to go to Amazon because I'll look at the product, I'll look at pictures, maybe I'll go to YouTube and look at something in more detail. I can read the product description and specs. I can read the reviews, see what people say about it, good and bad, and make my own independent decision and not have to depend on everybody to figure it out.
Blind Bargains.
Blind Bargains. It's another shopping site where you can, again, they have classifieds for more kind of blindness stuff, but then they have deals, and they have some really good deals listed there. Sometimes it's almost dangerous because I see a deal and go, they've caused me to spend a little bit of money there. But that's another website and service that's actually can be really nice.
Apple Store. Double tap to
Apple
open.
Store, that's, pretty self-explanatory. If you want to buy things or arrange a Genius Bar appointment or something, you can do that right through the app. So that's, again, really
Cub Foods.
good.
Double tap to open.
So, again, shopping, just use your imagination. Is there a store that you like to use? I have a grocery store called Cub Foods. Is there another online service or another local service that might have an app or a web page? Could I do that on my computer or could I do it on my phone? Even if it's not an app, can I go to Safari and use their web page to look up deals or, flyer ads or something like that?
Colborne's delivers. Recent Ticketmaster. One new item.
Ticketmaster. That site is a little sketchy these days. I don't know if I'd recommend it for a totally blind user because there's last time I tried to use it, it's a little jank. I don't know if everything is totally accessible in the current version, but it's a possibility. I've ordered like several concert tickets and stuff the last few years, and I've gone through Ticketmaster for that.
Target. Recently updated. My deals. Recently up. Page 1 of 2. Adjustable. Prime Now. Double tap.
Prime Now, that's something I haven't used yet, but it sounds really cool. They just introduced it to my area, so I'm an Amazon Prime member. If you wanted something really, really quick, you needed it for some reason, just super fast, and if you're in a big city that supports it right now, you can get delivery with like 1 hour delivery or something like that, or it's like ridiculously fast. So again, just think about using
Closing
your
shopping
phone
folder.
for shopping, independently doing things so that you don't always have to ask somebody for transportation or ask somebody for help, in a store. I mean, there are still times where I definitely go to a store because there's something like trying on like clothes or shoes or something. Like, I definitely want to find a shoe that's comfortable. I'm not going to necessarily buy that online. But for a lot of things, you can get by with that pretty well.
Navigation folder. 5 apps.
Navigation. Here's another independence category. You got your GPS apps. So you got your free Apple Maps, Google Maps. I'm a Google Map guy myself. And I also use Tomtom USA. Now, Google Maps and Apple Maps are free, but they all rely on the internet for maps. So if you are in a place with a crappy coverage, you get a dead zone, or for whatever reason you lose internet, you may have some trouble. Tomtom USA I use a lot because a lot of times when I travel outside of the city for work, I'm going to the middle of nowhere. And yeah, it's like $50 or 45 or something like that. It's just a one-time purchase. But TomTom, when you download the app, you download the USA map to your phone. So even if I turn my internet connections completely off, I still have map data. I can still get around. So I used those. And Blindsquare is another one that is really useful because it ties into a lot of these apps like Google Maps and things like that. But it has its own functionality where you can turn on and off different notifications. So you have the app open, and if you're walking around an unfamiliar area, maybe you're doing a new route, maybe you want to know what streets you're coming up to. What street are you on? What intersections are you coming up to? Maybe if you're in a business district, you're like, oh, before I have some time to kill before my meeting, I want to grab some lunch. So I can say, tell me about any restaurants that I pass nearby, or any coffee shop or a bakery or something. But you have all these different kind of categories of things that you can choose to enable or disable as far as notifying you what's around you.
Screen dimmed.
It's a really neat app. Blindsquare. It's like $15. Absolutely worth it if you live in town and you want to know a little bit more about your neighborhood.
Travel folder.
I have a
11X.
separate app for
Opening
travel
folder. Travel. Heading.
because
Text field.
to me, navigation like GPS, that's a little bit separate from just different, basic travel. So here I would put apps for like taking Amtrak because I take that once or twice a year to go see my family. So I might order tickets from there independently. Uber or Lyft. I've used Uber quite a bit lately. I've been to 3 concerts or 3 events this year already. I went to comedian Christopher Titus with a friend of mine, and then I went to a couple of concerts the last month or 2. I can go to the concert via bus, but I can't get home because the stupid buses quit running early. So I just call a cab or take an Uber home. And Uber, you tell it your location, tell it where you want to be, request a ride, and it'll say, hey, a driver's going to be here within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and it'll tell you who the driver is. It'll have a picture of their car if you have some vision to see it, and you have contact information if you need to contact the driver, and you just pay within the app. You don't even have to give them cash or your credit card. You just, when you're done, boom, it just takes your total. You rate the driver, and boom, you're done. You get an email receipt, and it's pretty great. Works. I like it a lot.
Transit. Double tap to
Transit
open.
app. This one is called Transit app. The little green one on the left
Transit.
there.
Double tap to open.
It's like a green with like a sideways S or something. I'm not sure what that symbol is supposed to be. That is a really handy app. Let me go into
Transit.
it really quickly.
Double tap to open.
I actually really like this app, and there's a couple ways you can use it.
87 Rosedale.
I use it in one way in particular, pretty often. So let's say that I want to go to the mall or I want to go somewhere, and I don't remember exactly what time I need to be out for the bus on a weekend. So let's say that let's take
87 Rosedale. U of M St. Paul.
Okay, let's
Cleveland
say the
Avenue.
87.
Direction northbound. 87 Rosedale. U of M St. Paul.
So I can view the different routes, and the nice thing is because it ties into GPS, it knows right where I am. And then if I were to, I could look at the routes that were right by me, or I could pull up a specific one if I wanted to. But I could, without having to go through a lot of effort or trouble, I can just pull up a list of buses that are near me and then, near the intersection and choose where I want to go or view its schedule. So the 87,
Map button.
I can get a map of it.
Favored button.
I can favorite it if I want.
Show schedule button.
So if I show schedule,
Back button.
this is what I like to do. And then at the top,
Northbound.
I can switch. I can do a 3-finger flick left or right, and I can say north or southbound. And then below that,
8:43 p.m.
so I can see the next one is 8:43.
9:10 p.m. 10:14 p.m. 11:14 p.m. 12:14 a.m. 4:50 a.m.
Okay. So there you go. It tells you like, oh, okay, I can tell that runs every 20 minutes?
8:43, 9:10 p.m.
Yeah.
10:14 p.m.
Okay, so it's not quite as often in the evening, but during the day I know it runs every 20 minutes. So this is a really handy app just for being able to look up bus schedules, route them, get departure times. It's just a really handy app that I use on a fairly regular basis, actually.
XT bus. Double tap to open.
There's some other ones that they work okay, but I'm become a fan of the Transit app.
Curb. Double tap to open.
Curb used to be called Taxi Magic. It's just like using the Uber or Lyft app. You can, except for it'll use like your local taxi cab companies if you have them, and you can reserve a taxi ride. I've only done it once or twice, and it's worked. But I know the one time I did it, the cab driver was like, he just didn't understand. He's like some like foreign guy that I couldn't really understand very well, but like he just didn't understand. It's like, well, no, like, you pay me cash, you pay me, like, no, I reserve it through the ride. I'll pay you through the app. And we eventually got through it, but he just didn't quite understand that that's what I was doing through their cab service. But there you go.
Point inside. Fast mall. Page 1 of 2.
I'm
Adjustable.
not going to go through those. There's some indoor mapping ones, but those are not accessible. I just have them on my phone because I'm waiting to hopefully see if they become accessible eventually.
Closing travel folder.
I know we're running long here, and I haven't really gone into detail, but this is, like I said, an overview video. I'm giving you a ton of apps, a ton of different categories. Again, most of these apps that I've talked about, like all the various reading apps, the low vision, CCTV apps, Knfb Reader, Text Grabber, all these different things, I have done separate iOS videos for them. And if I went into more detail on any of these, this video would go on again forever and ever and ever. So we're not going to do that.
Music folder. Shopping. Navigate. Travel food folder. 3 apps.
So food, again, you could put like grocery store apps in there. You could put like, you could order, like I order from Jimmy John's through the phone sometimes at work. I haven't tried the pizza one. I don't know. Some of them may have some accessibility problems because I know a lot of them, at least on the web now, look really graphic-y. So I haven't particularly tried the apps yet. I've really done it just on the websites. But again, think about if you want to order food independently, or maybe you have some coupons from a store that you always use and you can pull them up. There's all kinds of things that you can do.
Remote.
Let's go to my
Page 1 of
first
3.
page really quickly. Those are the main categories that I'll really show people on a regular basis. People, what do they want to be able to do? They want to be able to get around on their own. So there's GPS apps, there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's the transit app. You can pull up there's all kinds of apps for, maybe your city has its own public transportation app for buses or light rails or whatever. Amtrak. So people want to be able to get around. People want to be able to read. So they want to be able to read their mail. They want to be able to read the newspaper. They want to be able to read books, anything, paper documents, whatever. There are apps for magnification. You can magnify things. You can read books electronically through all the services I talked about. You can take a picture with Text Grabber or Knfb Reader. So you're able to do those independently. If you're totally blind, you may need to identify things. So you need to identify.
Page 1 of 3. Adjustable.
You need to identify your money, your paper bills, so that you can fold them properly and put them where you need them. Maybe you need to identify, look up cooking instructions for something in the kitchen, figure out which kind of soup is chicken noodle and not tomato soup or chili. You got the Digitize app for that. You've got, like I said, your Be My Eyes and Tap See if you want to bring other people into the equation to ask more specific questions that maybe a computer can't necessarily answer at this point. You got all your productivity apps for like taking notes. You got your voice memos that's built into your phone if you want to do voice recordings, audio notes. You've got a built-in calculator. There's a talking scientific calculator app if you need that. You have like I said, you've got all your Microsoft and Microsoft Office apps. You've got your iWorks, which is your Keynote and Pages and Numbers. Your those kind of things.
Adjustable.
Oh, hush.
Swipe up or down with one finger to adjust it.
I'm tapping the screen so that my screen doesn't go to sleep is what's going on. Shopping folder. Like I said, just being able to shop, research a product, go to the web with Safari, maybe research something, use an app on their phone or a website and do your own shopping. That should be, I think, more than enough as far as like just getting started with independence. I didn't go into specifics, but financial, if you're using most mainstream banks, I don't know about credit unions as much, but like I know most mainstream banks now have a mobile app. I know that my bank does, and the app works very well. Um, I actually have a couple of credit cards or credit cards and other financial things set up with different apps on my phone. I can go pay my bill, look at my balance, or anything like that. Again, yes, I can do it on the computer, but if I'm out on vacation or I'm out and I'm like, oh crap, I got to look and see when that's due, boom, I can just go pay it, go look at it, go pay it if I need to. Again, doing that independently, not having to rely on someone else for you. So that's another independence thing. So yeah, and then you just add all the stuff that's built in, your mail, your Safari, your phone, your
Page 1 of 3. Edge.
just using VoiceOver with everything, or Zoom if you're using that. And then you have all your fun stuff, your movies, your like YouTube and Netflix and Amazon and all the other services. You have all your music apps that I talked about. I've done videos for how many countless iOS games for low vision or that are completely accessible. I have a iOS low vision spotlight, and I have an iOS accessible game spotlight video playlist. Go check those out. So there's tons of things you can do for fun. So with this little thing that I have in my hand, my one hand right now, it's basically, like I said, it's a computer. What used to take me either at least a laptop,
iTunes Store,
and at least a couple of other separate devices that cost several $100 or more, you can do dang near anything, in portable form. I will say that, while it does do most things really well, I still think if you're in a job situation, you still should have computer skills. You will, it's not quite, super easy to do professional document editing and formatting on an iOS device. At least for me, it isn't just yet. So I find that much easier to do on a computer. Full internet research I'll do on a computer, although Safari on mobile is not bad at all. There are things you are going to want to have computer skills for. Like I've had some vision teachers say to people, oh, well, if you have an iPad or a note taker, that's enough, right? No, it isn't. Yes, an iPhone or an iPad can do a lot, and no, a note taker can't do a whole lot. But, I think that you still do need computer skills. But that said, there's a heck of a lot you can do as far as independence and productivity and all that kind of stuff with an iPhone, iPod Touch, or an iPad. So I know I've rambled on a long time. This is probably a longer video than I anticipated again. But I don't remember your name. I don't remember who requested it on my last video. But you had asked specifically about an introduction to apps for independence, being kind of a new iOS user. Like I said, I hope this helped, and just go check out some of my other playlists that do specific videos on a lot of the apps that were mentioned in this video. I've done separate videos for them in the past, and there's probably a couple of them that I'll be revisiting at some point in the future again. So yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. And again, just be sure to check out AppleViz, AppleVis.com, if you want to find out more stuff than what I talked about here. But I think this is a good all-around list of things that should get you more than started with doing all kinds of interesting things with your iOS device. So yeah, we'll wrap it up here, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. And thanks again to who wrote that comment. It was a good suggestion, and especially since I've been getting new subscribers and the iOS videos seem fairly popular. So yeah, we'll just add this one to the list, and hopefully it'll help people out. And until next time, I will talk to you guys again later.